Hey everyone, welcome to the Anxiety Rewired podcast, episode 3. Can you believe it? And today, what we're going to be talking about is the anxiety cycle. It's so important we understand where we are stuck in the cycle so that we can actually finally figure out how to get off this cycle, this hamster wheel. Imagine we're cruising down the motorway and we've been stuck on the motorway of anxiety for most of our life or for a certain period of our life, and we're looking for that exit. If you've been looking for the exit from anxiety for a long time now, you're in the right place. And during this episode, what I'm going to be teaching you is the anxiety cycle, how it starts, where it starts, why it starts where it does, and how we can finally break free. So if you're ready for that, let's go. All right, welcome to Anxiety Rewired podcast, episode 3. We're talking about breaking free from the anxiety cycle. One of the most powerful places to start when it comes to working with our anxiety, to move through anxiety, is to understand why it's happening to us, where we are in this cycle, where we're getting stuck, and why this continues to happen. You know, anxiety is that persistent worry, that perceived threat, that feeling like I can't control this, or I don't know how to get through this, or I'm afraid of this. It's really a projection about something that we're either not willing to confront or that we don't feel like we're able to confront in the future. So let's get into this, and let me take you through this incredible information I have for you, because by the end of this, I want you to feel like you actually make sense. You know, if someone pulled me aside many years ago and said, Laith, you know what? Your anxiety actually makes sense. And I want to prove that to you, and I want to show you why this is happening to you. The amount of years that I would have saved, not worrying, not getting caught up in the spirals and the loops, would have been absolutely amazing. However, this information is here now, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the cycle. So this is the simplest way that I can break this down. Down the bottom here, we have safety, okay? When we're in safety, I want you to think about a moment in your life. Maybe it's a moment you had this week. Maybe it's a moment you had over the weekend. Just think about a moment in your life where you actually felt at peace and safe in your mind and in your body. I'll give you an example. For me, it's when I'm at the beach. I'm at the beach. I can hear the seagulls. I can hear the waves. My feet are in the sand. The sun is on my face. And I just feel completely at peace. There is nothing to worry about, nowhere to be, nothing to do, but just be here, present, still, and safe. That's a beautiful place for me. So what's that place for you? Because that is where the beginning of the cycle happens. We begin in safety. Now, all of a sudden, we get a stimulus. There's something in our environment, either internally, a shift happens, or externally out there in our world that comes into our active experience. Now, before we get into that stimulus, I want to share with you, I've got some interesting pictures at the bottom of the cycle down here, of some surveillance cameras and a picture of a brain, okay? I've got a picture of a brain here. There is something that lives inside you in your brainstem, which are like surveillance cameras. And these surveillance cameras are scanning your environment every millisecond of your day, constantly scanning. We're going to get into this a little bit deeper in another episode, but I just want to let you know that Dr. Stephen Porges coined a term called neuroception. Okay, neuroception. I just want you to think about this without getting too deep into the science of all of this. But I want you to remember this is, I have an internal surveillance camera scanning my environment for anything that I would, my brain would, my body would perceive as a potential threat. And what happens is, as stimulus, as things come into our active experience, as we feel sensations in the body, as we see, we hear, we might taste, smell something, you name it, as these things come into our active experience, if there's a flavoring, even the slightest flavoring of potentially being a threat, that is going to trigger the internal alarm system in our brain called the amygdala, which is very heavily connected to the emotional center of the brain. In fact, it is part of the emotional center of the brain. And the amygdala can hijack us in that moment, even when there's no smoke. And I want you to think about the amygdala as like an alarm, all right? A smoke alarm on your ceiling. So the cameras are scanning, there's something that it's picked up on inside of you, an internal shift. Maybe your heartbeat increases. Maybe you begin to sweat for no reason. Maybe you begin to hyperventilate. So the pace of your breathing increases, right? Neuroception picks up on these things. Okay. Neuroception and interoception. Interoception is your awareness of things happening internally. So it picks up these things. It sends that information through a few different processes, but to keep it simple, we end up in the amygdala of our brain, okay? The amygdala, the only thing it's concerned with is this something I need to be aware of? Is this a threat to our safety? Is this dangerous? Yes or no? And based on what you went through in the past, all of the things, our entire history of things that were safe and unsafe growing up, no matter what it was, we're all uniquely different. The amygdala has been fine-tuned. So the surveillance camera sends the signal up to the smoke detector on the ceiling, and it will raise the alarm at the sight of anything it perceives as dangerous for you. And this is based on all of your history and all of your past. So if you are about to, and here's an example for me, I'll give you one of my examples. Going to a roller coaster for the first time with my best friend Matthew. I'd never been on one. He'd been on one many times. So I'm feeling a little bit anxious about that. So the stimulus is there. I know that I'm going to a roller coaster. I'm going on it for the first time and I'm freaking out. So as I'm going towards the roller coaster, we've paid to get into the theme park. We're moving towards a roller coaster. I am having a physical, visceral, real reaction to this. I am beginning to shake. My amygdala, my smoke detector is beginning to go off. I'm freaking out. Not only that, I've been freaking out about this for probably a few days leading up to it, right? We can all relate. So the stimulus is there. My interpretation of this is I start thinking things like, am I ever going to get off this ride? Like, is the thing going to fall off the tracks? You know, I can hear people screaming. Are they worried? Are they having a good time? I don't know. How am I going to survive this, right? So as we move through the cycle, the stimulus comes into our environment, right? We interpret that as either safe, dangerous, what if, am I going to survive? We come up with all the narratives and stories at this point, okay? And then as we move through that, we have an if response. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Now, I won't cover all of those states here, but I will tell you what happened with me when I went into this experience with the roller coaster. So I went into flight mode, okay? So I'm going towards the roller coaster. Matthew is really excited. I'm freaking out. And I go into, I can't fight this thing. I'm not going to stand here and try and fight my way onto this roller coaster. My nervous system response is, let's just get out of here. So I begin to feel my body starting to get tense. I'm starting to get really worried about this thing. I've interpreted this thing as danger. My body's sending me signals that it's dangerous. I'm not wanting to get on this thing. I'm doing everything I can to get away from it, which takes us to the next part of how we quite often choose to handle anxiety when it comes up, whether it's anxious thoughts, feelings, etc. We go on to the next part, which is we avoid, right at the top there. And we start saying things like, oh, you know what? I might just, I don't know about this ride. I might just go on the boat one over there. That looks a little, I can handle that. That's good. Or, all of a sudden the stomach ache starts. True. It can happen. When our nervous system begins to notice that something in our environment is not safe, we can have physical, visceral, real, physiological reactions in our body. We can start to feel sick. Our breath starts changing. We begin hyperventilating. Our breath speeds up. We move to the chest. This is sympathetic energy, sympathetic nervous system state of activation. Why? Because we need mobilizing energy in our system to get away from the threat. In my case, I didn't want to go on the roller coaster. So we feel it. We feel it in our bodies. And this is why our heart rate increases. This is why our nervous system kicks in so rapidly, even before we've had a chance to really think about things, to mobilize our energy for us to take action. So this leads us either towards facing, fighting the threat, fleeing from the threat. So we're running away. So that's the flight response. We can freeze. So that's very much a blended state of I want to go on this ride because my best friend's going on it, but I don't want to, I'm too scared. I can't do it. But if I let him down, he's going to think I'm an idiot. So I better do it. But I really can't do it. So freeze is a very blended state. Okay. of wanting to do something, but just feeling like you just can't do it. And then fawn is something a little different, which I can talk about in a different episode. So here we are, we're avoiding this thing. And let's say, for example, all of a sudden, because of all the stress and panic we've put ourselves under, we feel sick, we might get a little bit dizzy, we might start feeling a little bit nauseous, and we end up going, I just can't go on the road. I think I'm going to vomit. You've avoided the situation. Okay, your nervous system has mobilized you to avoid it. So that brings a sense of relief as all the chemicals, cortisol and adrenaline, begin to settle in the body. You feel relief. Oof, I got out of that one. And that can feel really good in the moment. We got away from it. Yes. But what happens in that moment when we feel that sense of relief, we have sent a signal to the brain and body that we've avoided the things that we are afraid of, therefore reinforcing that the thing, roller coaster, is dangerous. Roller coasters equal danger. So here's what I want to teach you. How do we get off the hamster wheel and get onto the roller coaster? What we got to do is when the stimulus comes in, because let's face it, we can't control what people are going to say to us. We can't control what letters we're going to get sent in the mail or what phone calls are going to come in that we don't want to receive. A lot of stuff in life we just don't have control over. But what we do have control over is a couple of things. And that's an interpretation, and I'll never forget it. I was getting on my first ever roller coaster ride with my best friend, Matthew. He was telling me, hey, dude, I'm going to be right there with you. And all the years this place has been open, they've never had anyone here ever hurt themselves or injure themselves on the roller coaster rides. And that helps in the moment. That can help the mind to come back online and actually rationalize our way to thinking, you know what, he's got a point. But the body is much slower to catch up. Okay, when it comes to these things, it takes a little while for the body to trust. That's why sometimes we can think like, oh, what's the chances of anything happening, but still feel that anxiety in our bodies. So what we want to learn to do is we want to learn how to do hard things in life in safety, in regulation. So how we do this is Matthew was there. He was like, dude, I'm going to be right next to you. And he was really encouraging me. And it was really cool. And I was still scared, okay? I'm not going to lie. I was freaking out. Anyway, long story short, my fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, it kicked in anyway. Doesn't matter what anyone was telling me. I'm scared. I'm sitting there on the ride with Matthew. We're right up in the front of the cart, which, oh my goodness, there was the only seats left. The instructors are coming around and they're locking down the harnesses so that they're all secured and in place. And I'm still freaking out. Anyway, it gets locked down and I'm sitting there and my eyes are closed and I am shaking. And Matthew's next to me like, Laith, we're going to be okay. The ride begins to start and we begin our ascent up the first part of the roller coaster and my eyes are still shut and I'm freaking out. Anyway, we reach the peak and Matthew's like, Laith, open your eyes. Look at the view. I open my eyes. I'm looking out. We are way up and it is beautiful and it's a beautiful day. I'm still freaking out. And we go down the first drop, and the first drop at the bottom of the drop, we hit our first loop, and I am freaking out. And we're heading down, and my stomach's dropped, and my nervous system, all the alarms are going and everything. We come through the first loop, we go through the corkscrew, we come through the second loop, we come back around. We get to the end of the ride where we come back into the station where we started from. The brakes slam on, we come to an end. And I am there with my arms up, and I am excited because I turn towards the thing that I feared in safety with my best friend, and I couldn't believe it. And you know what went through my mind? I want to do that again. So I did. I faced it again. I ended up going back-to-back rides. I think we did it like 10 times in a row. And by the second or third time, I think it was, there was no fear. This is the thing. Anxiety becomes a problem when it holds you back from doing the things in your life you truly want to do. There are some moments in life that are dangerous, and we want anxiety to keep us away from those things because we don't need to face dangerous stuff sometimes. But if there's something in your life that anxiety is holding you back from, these moments are when we want to turn towards and face our anxiety. But I don't encourage everyone to face it straight away. I want to share something with you. We've talked about the cycle here on the left. The way out of the cycle, okay, is here at the top. We want to build nervous system capacity. This is what I teach first. I don't teach people to wake up tomorrow, turn towards anxiety, and run towards it head on. A lot of people teach that. I don't teach that. What I teach people to do is I teach them to begin to regulate their nervous system. We begin to turn down the volume and turn down the frequency of the surveillance cameras scanning your environment. Turn down the volume of the smoke detector, the amygdala. We turn the volume down so you can feel more at ease in your body, more safe in your body, more present, more here, more good within yourself. When you begin to feel this, and it doesn't take too long, by the way, everyone's journey is a little different, but when you feel this, you feel like you've got a bit more capacity to turn towards the things that create anxiety in your life for you. Turn towards some of these thoughts that have been plaguing you for so long. Turn towards those people in your life that create anxiety and maybe have that conversation, Turn towards those things that are holding you back and keeping you up late at night. When we have capacity, what we've created is more safety within our system to be able to turn towards the things that are worrying us and to be able to face them. This is where we exit. So we've been heading down the motorway of anxiety for so long, and finally we find the exit. And the exit is turning towards our anxiety in a particular way. We go into what I call a parasympathetic response. This is where the magic happens. This is where we turn towards the things that we've been fearing. We begin to face those parts of ourselves that might have felt rejected in the past and not able to speak up for the things that we want in life. We begin to turn towards the people and the places and the situations that are causing discomfort. And we finally feel like we have capacity to put boundaries in place and stick to them, And we begin to do that in regulation. We actually I feel okay doing this now. I'll never forget when I got myself into a place in my life when I began to turn towards things that I'd feared for so long that were causing me sleepless nights and to worry and to be stressed. And we do this in a particular way. And we do this in regulation, and we do it in a parasympathetic response, not stress, but parasympathetic. Think parachute, slowing down, parachute slowing down. And when we're in that state, we are able to complete the anxiety response in the moment. And we come out the other end and we shake out that energy, and it doesn't stay stuck in the body. Just think back to the roller coaster ride. When we go through it, it can be scary. When we come out the other end and realize we're safe, we get to complete the stress response, and you'll be amazed at how different you feel. So that is how we reset the stress and anxiety response in the body. So what's really going on here is anxiety is not an enemy at all. It's actually, it's not a mess. It's a message from your body to say, for some reason, this thing, that person, this situation, that text, that knock at the door, that next bill payment, there's something going on. I'm worried. I'm scared. I don't know if I can handle this. And your smoke detector is going off big time. And what I want to teach you to do is dial back the smoke detector so you can feel more regulated in your body, so that you can bring the fullest, most powerful, most authentic parts of yourself to the surface that can handle anxiety. And we help you in time to turn towards it so that we can face it, complete it, and step more fully into a life that we actually love. So here we are at the watchtower. The amygdala, right? The threat detector and the surveillance cameras are constantly scanning the environment all the time. Every millisecond is being recorded. And this camera system has been encoded to pick up on anything from your past, like I mentioned, that would even perceivably be a threat to you. If there is anything that's within your environment that you simply at this stage of your life can't handle, it is going to bring it to the forefront and into the amygdala where it can be processed. If the amygdala says, you know what, we can't handle that, it will send signals to parts in your body to release certain chemicals, flood your bloodstream with stress chemicals, hormones, etc. Okay, it's just the way it happens. That's why sometimes we feel shaky, right? That's why sometimes we get dizzy. These are processes to help keep you safe, even though they feel yucky. So what we want to do is we want to let the guys know upstairs, the neuroception and the amygdala, hey, we're turning the volume down because the reality in our life right now is we are safe. The roller coaster is not going to hurt us. Okay. This thing over here is not going to hurt us. Messaging the boss back and just asking for an agenda is not going to hurt us. Asking for that pay rise or putting our hand up in that next team meeting, it's not going to hurt us. We can do hard things in life when we are in regulation. That's what I want to teach you to do, my friends. So I truly hope that this has helped you in some way. And I want you to leave this podcast today and just know that you are not broken. You do not require fixing. It's just we have a smoke detector and a surveillance system that is very highly tuned and sensitive to your environment based on what you've been through in your life. And we can work with it. So I truly hope this has helped in some way. I would love to know what your takeaway is. What's the biggest takeaway that you've had from this podcast, episode 3 today? Let me know in the comments below here on YouTube or wherever you're tuning in from. Let me know in the comments. I would love to know. And I will see you back for episode 4. Let's go.